Hey guys, so I wanted to share the outcome of one little brief, like 10-minute thing that I did that you could do also easily, by the way. I want to talk about what I did and exactly, I think, how to do this, and just tell you what the results have been this week, like literally in the last 5 days. I always hesitate to attribute result B from effort A, but sometimes it's just a little too on the nose. So, I don't know. You can make what you will of this, but I'll tell you exactly what happened. On last Sunday morning, I was texting with my friends Cecilia and Stacy, and Cecilia specifically was talking about doing some things to get comfortable with the feeling of having a lot more money. I don't know anything about Cecilia's finances, really, but I don't think she's doing too poorly. I think she's doing pretty good. So I would say we're probably, somewhere in the same. As I've mentioned on this channel multiple times, I became a multimillionaire from having, just being broken in debt in about a decade after reading The Science of Getting Rich. So anyway, I don't know that Cecilia's like a multimillionaire or whatever, but like she's, whatever, she's not broke. So we were talking about this, and also I think Cecilia and I have probably a similar, based on this conversation on Sunday, probably have a similar sort of comfort level with material things. That's the thing. Like, you can have different amounts of money, and somebody can have a lot more money than somebody else and still be at the exact same mental place with certain things. So like, I actually think Cecilia might be more comfortable with having material things than I am. So we were talking about this because she was about to go do something to sort of immerse herself in the feeling of having even more. And I was talking about how Jean, my business partner, and I, when we were completely broke, we used to go to this beautiful town in Illinois called Lake Forest. And we would go there and drive around and look at all these houses, just beautiful houses in the middle of like a gigantic forest. I mean, there's trees everywhere in this place. And we would go and like eat breakfast there and watch people leaving for work in their expensive cars and getting on the train to go downtown in their expensive suits. And we would sit there saying, we belong here. This place, we would just sit there to kind of absorb it and move ourselves mentally into the place where we felt natural there, like as Neville Goddard would say. The naturalness is what is, it's like when you feel like you belong with something, when you feel aligned with something, that is where it becomes very easy. There's something in my eyelashes. That's where it becomes very easy for you to just kind of like flow to that place where you have it, or you're there, or something like that. So we would do that back in the day. And we would also say, these people are all going off to work. They have a job they have to go to, and we're entrepreneurs, and we're going to be very successful, and we don't have to do that. We can decide on a whim at 6:30 a.m. to just say, hey, let's just drive to Lake Forest and hang out there. We don't have to be somewhere by 8 a.m., to start dealing with clients or whatever. And we were just like, we're further ahead of these people in some ways. So we would do that, and it was really it was a really uplifting experience. It really kind of drove it home. Like, I'm going to be here someday. We're headed towards this. We belong here. That's what we would do. So Cecilia was talking about kind of doing something like that. And I had made, like a year ago, I made a Photoshop of Jean's and my Vanguard brokerage account where I added a couple $1 million to it or something. And I sent this to him, and he was like delighted. And so, because, he does stuff like visualizing and all that. I don't do a lot of that stuff intentionally. I try to just kind of flow wherever it is that I want to go, while along the way trying to remove the obstacles I have, the resistance that I have to that stuff, by changing the way I feel about it. Like, my approach isn't to try to like do these little things usually, like make something and focus on it specifically and try to bring it about. I just kind of try to flow there and notice what's happening along the way and change those things. If I'm like, man, I really don't feel like I'm good enough for this, I try to like go, well, where did that come from? What the hell is that? And what do I need to do to address that? And I ask for help and all that stuff. So, but I specifically made this thing for Gene because I thought he would like it. And while I was talking to Cecilia about this and Stacy, I just added another 0 to it. And so I'm looking at this number, and it's weird because Gene and I have a fairly large net worth, but it's spread out all over the place. Like none of it's in like one place. It's not all like sitting in a brokerage account where I can open it and go, "Ooh, I've got $5 million or something." You know what I mean? I can't. It's like I have to really sit down and think about it. Okay, we have all these assets. We have money in these investments. Our business is worth this much. I don't feel that rich very often. Like I don't look at if you looked at my net worth, you would say, well, why don't you feel, like a rich person? I feel like a well-off person. I feel like a person that doesn't have to think about money, but I never feel like a rich person. And that's why I think, because it's like all over the place. I can't look at it in one place and just see a big number sitting there. So I made this Vanguard number, this big one, the one that is way bigger than even the one I made for Gene. And I'm sitting there looking at it, and I just kind of got comfortable with it. The number that I put in Vanguard to send to Gene is a large number too, but honestly, it's not even a number that really excites me at this point. It's a couple million more than we have, and it would be interesting if that were all sitting in one account and could be actually like used for something. I didn't have to, like, if I wanted to make an enormous purchase, I could just withdraw it. That would be cool, but it didn't really move me. I'm like, you know what? $2 more million is not going to vastly change where I'm currently at mentally. I don't know if that sounds crazy to you, but it wouldn't. For some people, it probably would. Different people have all different ways of approaching money. They have different ideas about what to do with it. And for me to be moved mentally, like into a different mental place, for me to say, I no longer need to be responsible in the way I'm being, in my assessment of what that means, if that makes any sense. Like, for me, I have a personal preference to own outright the place that I live in. It's just a very freeing thing for me. And right now, at my current wealth level, it's different than if I had a mortgage or a mortgage payment. To just own something outright, to own something better outright, a lot better outright, I'd have to have a lot more money. I could get a mortgage and buy a much better house and have an affordable mortgage payment right now. I just don't want to do that. So anyway, other people would have a totally different feeling about this. So this is why this is really personal, and you'd have to figure out what this is for you. But when I looked at this bigger number, I just kind of let myself hang out in the vicinity of this bigger number. I just sat there looking at it, and I kind of thought, what would be different if this were the actual number in my Vanguard brokerage account? What would be different? I thought, well, first of all, I would probably no longer be doing the accounting for everything. Like, that's another thing. I have total control over all the finances. We don't have an accountant that does anything. I do all the taxes. I do everything. And it is a big job. And I thought, wow, that would be really freeing, because I think with this amount of money, not only could I justify the expense of having somebody manage it and pay somebody good, but I think I personally would be at the point mentally where I was like, this is above my pay grade and it needs to be handled by somebody else. So this amount of money would bring about a massive change in my input into finances, which would be great because it takes up a lot of time. And I thought, wow, that would be interesting. And I kind of sat with that for a second, and I thought, ooh, that makes me a little uncomfortable. Somebody else would be all up in my finances. I don't like that idea. I just kind of sat with that for a second and thought, well, but okay. But I mean, that's a lot of money. That's just something I would have to get over, and I would get over that. So sat with that objection. And then I was thinking, okay, I would also be free to do things differently with this business. I could dispose of it if I wanted, or I could turn it over to somebody else to run. That's probably what I would do. I would probably stay a little involved, but I don't think I would just get rid of it, because it's a huge income, and why would you do that, even if you had millions and millions of dollars? This would change. So I would have less requirements here, but I'd probably still keep it. I was just trying to be realistic. If I had this amount of money, say in a year, what would I actually do? So, thought about that. I thought about the house situation. I thought, would we move right away? Probably pretty quickly. Probably within about a year, we'd be shopping for a different house. And what would that look like? I probably wouldn't just go straight for like a $10 million house. I would probably just get a bigger house that would suit my needs. And anyway, the point of telling you all of this is I just kind of sat there looking at the number, imagining myself opening my Vanguard account and actually seeing that number there. What would that change in me? Like, first of all, how would I feel differently in here once I get past the initial moment of being like, oh, I've got all this money. Once that wore off, because that would wear off quickly, once I knew it was real and wasn't going to go away. Okay, so now I've got this money. What am I going to do with it? How am I going to feel about my life? What's different? And then I got distracted and got bored with it and moved on to something else. I'd say that whole thing was like maybe 10 minutes. So here's what's happened since then. Is it related? Is it not? I don't know. That was Sunday morning. Monday night, my brother and I received word that my father's life insurance policy, which, to make a long story short, somebody else, in a very underhanded way, got themselves somehow assigned as the beneficiary right before he died. It was my brother and I were the beneficiaries on this thing, and somebody else, illegally for sure, and possibly completely without my dad knowing, got themselves assigned as the beneficiary. The signature on the form is a forgery. Everything else filled out on it is in this particular person's handwriting. So, needless to say, whatever, we contested it. And the life insurance insurance company 4 years ago was like, well, okay, we don't know who to assign it to. We agree that this looks fraudulent, so, or something, or that at least this raises a lot of questions, if nothing else. So we're not going to pay it to anybody. You guys need to take this to court and fight it out. And I said, well, I don't want to do that. And my brother said, well, okay, as long as that person doesn't get it, that's all I really care about. So that's where that's remained. Monday night, the lawyer from that case, or the lawyer from that incident, called my brother and told him that the life insurance company wants it off their books, and they're going to file an interpleader to get the court to take over it and, bring us all in to figure it out. And so I said, I want nothing to do with this. And then I guess that person's lawyer contacted our lawyer, who contacted my brother, and, has an offer on the table. So long story short, or I guess outcome that we don't know yet, it's looking like I'm going to get about $10,000 from that. I wasn't expecting to ever see a dime of it, and I didn't care, and I don't care still. And if I have to go to court to get it, I'm not going to do it. I'll just release my claim on it and give it to my brother, and he can go figure it out if he wants. But I don't know. Basically, $10,000 immediately started trying to find its way into my bank account. We'll see how that plays out. But that happened, and the very worst case scenario, the offer that the other party made was to split it with us. And so that's I'm not sure that's going to happen. I don't think my brother's willing to do that. But in any event, many thousands of dollars were trying to make their way into my bank account the next night. So that happened. A vendor who had overcharged me by several $1,000s, and I missed it completely, finally refunded it. I found it like last week or something. I found this error and I emailed them, whatever. That got refunded on Tuesday. So I don't know if we're doing the math correctly here. That's $12,500 or so that showed up by Tuesday. And then, and this is the part that really excites me. This is in the potential money category. That same vendor, I, for whatever reason, did not have a rep with them. A rep finally reached out to me and said, hey, I'm your rep. And she yesterday sent me this enormous, it has 100 things on it, product list that I'm able to get at this ridiculously low price. And my customers are insane for these products at a certain price that I can sell them for at this price that she's giving me. And I'm still trying to get over this. It's so insane. The president of this company called me last October, and this is what I hate. Okay, this is why my business is not bigger than it is. I'm just going to be honest with you here. The president of this company called, and he left a message kind of like, said something like, can you call me back? I want to see how we can do more business. And first of all, I had no money to spend on this at the time. I was just like tapped out. This has been like the 12-month period where there have been the best deals I've ever seen. I don't know if the companies that sell to me are hurting. I don't really know what's going on because my business is like booming. So I don't know what's going on, but I've gotten more like discount deals where I'm still pretty much selling stuff for the same price I always have. I'm just making a ton of money. I'm getting all these deals. And when he called me, this was just after I had placed an enormous order with them. So I was like, okay, how we can do more business, I don't know. I just spent a gigantic amount with you guys, like gigantic. And so I never called him back. And honestly, I hate talking to people on the phone. I fucking hate it. I never do it. I was like, I don't want to call this guy. But then I looked him up because I was like, who is he? And he's the president of the company. He had said that. But you know, he's like a Wharton Business School grad. And I was just like, dude, I am like out of my league here. You know, I don't have a college degree even. Not that it really matters, but you know, I'm like, I don't want to talk to this guy. He's the president of the company. He like went to Wharton Business School. Like what, you know, who am I? Like, I'm a glorified Etsy seller that manifested my way into having a multi-million dollar business. Like, I always think of myself in this way. And you know, I never feel like, like I just said, I always feel like I'm a glorified Etsy seller that just like manifested their way into being in this position where I don't belong. Like, I don't on my own merits like deserve to be talking to somebody who went to Wharton Business School. Okay. I'm saying this. I know it's stupid, but look, everybody's got these things. And here's a great example of how that plays out. Like, I don't know what he was going to tell me. I assume that I could have gotten access to this list of products, which, you know, obviously rotates in and out as they get more new stuff. But I assume if I had called the president of this company back in October, that I could have had access to all of these products back then. So, you know, that happened also. That was yesterday. And I was lamenting this to Jean. I was like, God, what a dumbass. I can't believe I didn't call that guy. Like, I was just like, this is a problem. Like, this is, you know, think of what we could have been doing if I could have just gotten over myself and called him and talked to him. I also just didn't want to say, hey, we can't make any more purchases right now. I'm sorry. But even so, it wasn't about the fact that we couldn't make more purchases. It was about the fact that I was intimidated to talk to this guy because I felt like he was out of my league. And because a part of me, even though I effectively run this business and make a shit ton of money in, I'm starting to think that, well, I know we run the business like really, really well in ways that other, you know, our other competitors don't. I just know it from looking at their stuff and just seeing how they do things. I'm just like, okay, but, you know, I don't know. I just always feel like I'm not in the league of these people. And Jean was like, no, this, you know, everything's happening right on time. And he's right. You know, it all kind of goes together. It is happening right on time. And it is true that it would have happened sooner if I had, you know, changed the way I felt about myself in relation to everything. So it is all true. And we did actually just change up because I got really tired of working so much. I was like, you know what, I'm just putting like everything in the store on sale and I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to like come up with promotions and come up with free stuff to give to people. I'm just going to put everything on sale for, you know, the markup that we want. And I'm just going to be hands off for like a month because I don't feel like working that hard. And business has been way better since I did that. Turns out that was just a better approach. But the problem with that is everything sells too fast. I have to have access to a lot of stuff at a really cheap price in order to continue to sell things for like the price they are now in our store that's creating all this like huge amount of business. And I didn't really have access to that. And in the meantime, all of a sudden, things like this are happening where now I have access to all these cheap things to flip at the same price I'm currently, it's just kind of fallen into place since I did that. Another company whose stuff I'm selling for really cheap also has suddenly started regularly, like once every month or so, having a little period of time where you can get all of their stuff for super cheap. They never did that before. This just started in December. So, yeah, anyway, all of that has gone down since sitting there with that image of my Vanguard account with the astronomical amount of money in it and just sort of getting used to certain parts of the feeling of being somebody who legitimately really has no business worrying about money, which probably I'm already there. I mean, I'm probably already can't justify worrying about it, but in my mind, we'll see. We'll see when we get there, and then I still worry about money. It's funny. If you had told me in 2010 that I would worry about money at the current financial level, I would have been like, you're nuts. There's no way I would ever worry about money when I had that much. And I don't really worry about it very much, I guess, but, Anyway, I just wanted to make that video because, first of all, I wanted to talk about how I sat through that sort of moment of immersing myself mentally in a different mental state and just kind of exploring it, because you don't have to do it and like worry about if it worked. You just do it and see what happens. I mean, look what happened in the first 4 days after I did it. Life insurance policy is going to pay out to some level. I got that big refund from the vendor, and probably because the president had to sign off on that credit. The rep told me that. The president that I never called back had to sign off on that credit, and he probably contacted a sales rep and said, because he probably, when he was looking at the amount that was spent on this order where they overcharged me, which was a huge amount, he probably said, look, somebody needs to get a hold of these people, because the rep actually had tried to contact me January 15th also, and I ignored her. But she managed to get me because she called Jean, and Jean thought she was calling about the credit. And so he brought her in on his phone and put her on speakerphone, and it turned out she was just trying to get a hold of me so that she could grill me about sending me these products. It's amazing how your self-concept, I mean, I don't know. I'm throwing myself under the bus here for the benefit of others. Your self-concept, you're like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to talk to anybody. I am not in the caliber of these people. I'm not in the league of these people. What if they want me to do something I can't do? What if I look like I'm not a real business person? What if I look like I'm not somebody to be taken seriously? Look at what I prevented from coming to myself sooner. Anyway, so I hope this was beneficial to somebody out there. I am really willing to put my own credibility in question by being honest sometimes, and I want some credit for that, okay? I want some credit for that. No, I don't know. I'm assuming nobody out there is judging me. It's funny how I won't talk to anybody, but I will make a video talking about stupid crap where everybody can see what a dumbass I am, and just post it on the internet for anyone and everyone, including the president of this company, to find. All right, have a great day, y'all.